How's it? I want to ask you a question. Does your life have a purpose? Is there a meaning to life? Is there a meaning to all of our life? Is there a bigger picture? Some fundamental, wonderful, great divine that we are all working towards? I don't know, or any purpose at all. I was watching an interview the other day about some dude, a professor from Australia, who's talking about the meaning of life and the meaning of consciousness. Very interesting. And he comes up with a hypothesis that the human race is suffering from a psychosis. We've got a psychosis because our instinct is at loggerheads with our moral intellect, our moral consciousness. So our moral consciousness, or our consciousness of being humankind, of a human being, is basically we've got conscience, we've got empathy, and we've got all the softer emotions, and we've got greed and jealousy and all the harder emotions, which an animal doesn't have. Obviously, an animal just hunts, he eats, he sleeps, and he dies. Not a hell of a lot of variation there. And humanity, they say, okay, well, we're different because we've got consciousness, we have got emotions, we've got the ability to rationalize, etc. And he says that the conflict in humanity is in such a big bad state at the moment because there is a conflict between our instincts and our morality and our consciousness, our human consciousness. And the example he gives is like a bunch of birds flying away and down, and they're doing on a migration path, and then the one turns around and flies, sees an island down there with pawpaws on, and he cruises down and eats the pawpaws, and he's breaking away from his instinct, which is to fly north and to go and hibernate and then come south again to plunder and rob. But anyway, so now he's an island and he goes and does it. So there's conflict in his mind. Should he follow the instinct of thousands of generations, or should he go and scale the pawpaws of the island? And he says this is basically, there's first of all scotoma, that we do not remember our distant past, of when there was sort of a feeling of empathy, love, and tranquility. And then when this conflict came around, which gave rise to greed and anger and possession and stuff, this conflict inside us, between our instincts and stuff, caused us to be horrible people. Now, I really don't buy into that. I don't know if it's got much merit. I believe in that when, obviously when we've got consciousness, there will all kinds of strange things happen. Yeah, I don't buy into that. I don't agree with him that there's this big thing. All we've got to do is we've got to fix our psychosis and everything will be hunky-dory. I think it's more complicated than that, and I think greed has got a major part to do with it, and possibly a feeling or an understanding of our own mortality. We all know that we're going to die one day, which is going to be a bit of a bitch. And to sort of sustain our life, we want to have a legacy, leave a legacy. We're scared of being forgotten. We're scared of disappearing into nothingness. And that's why we run on this quest to possess things and own things. Two things for security. I mean, like the squirrel gathers nuts for the winter, we try and gather for the our whole lifetime, and to prepare us for the afterlife. So we try and catch the stuff to prepare that when we die, we can be comfortable. And secondly, to leave to our kids and stuff, so that we do leave this legacy, and we leave our name and stuff like that, which is a quest for immortality. But that, I think, doesn't really answer the question. I think it is greed and selfishness. But I think the reason that we are selfish and the reason we lost direction is we've lost focus on what the meaning of life is. And I think the answer to that question, there are three possible answers or directions, aren't there? There's a meaningful life if we believe in an afterlife, okay? If we believe that we're going to die and we're going to be judged, and if we lived a good life, we're going to go to some heaven or something. And if we lead a bad life, we're going to go to hell. Then there's people that believe that there was a consciousness, there is a consciousness of the universe, and that there was maybe a creation, or there's some kind of evolution into a state of being. And this divine consciousness created everything, and we fit into the scheme of things of the divine consciousness, which means we are just the element of creation. And couple of outcomes of that. We can either steer our direction or we can't. There are various opinions on that. And then, of course, the third is that there is no divine outcome. There's no God. There's no reason. Everything's random action, and we just get thrown here, boom, like a lump of putty, and off we go, and we gooi, and we do our best. So those are the three things: believe in a God, believe in a religious God, and believe in nothing. Okay, so let's believe in nothing. That's the easy one, isn't it? If you don't believe in something, a God at all, there's no divine repercussions or results, outcomes, okay, or consequences. So what it makes pretty much sense, if there's no consequence, the first thing, the selfish way would be is to just open seas and do whatever you like. We can do anything. There's no consequence. Doesn't matter who we hurt, who we break. It's a warlord kind of mentality of just doing our best and making as much money as we can. Doesn't matter who gets in front of us or what gets in front of us. The second is to turn around and say, is a philanthropist, the guy that thinks, oh, well, we're in this great big world and we're here to make it better. And they run around and saving the planet. That's the second, but not for some kind of divine outfit, just because it's a cool thing to do. And the third one would be doesn't give a shit. He gets on and does his best and doesn't really worry. He doesn't worry about conscience or morality, but doesn't make up. He's not out to skin the system. He just exists. So the sort of appetizer or whatever you want to call it. Not appetizer, appetizer. So those are the three if there's no God, all right? Religious is easier again. If we say there's a set of doctrines and dogmas that we follow according to most of the mainstream religions, that if you do that, you'll go somewhere into an afterlife. And the feeling is the afterlife is kind of a nirvana or a heaven or a place where we are rewarded and all the good guys go, and the baddies maybe even go to hell. So there's jury's out on whether the baddies get suffer or they just die and don't have any recognition or any kind of consciousness. They are motivated by the feeling, most of them, for the afterlife. So they do good with the purpose of leading a good life and maybe dying and going to heaven. A lot of them, most of them are apathetic, but anyway, that's the general consensus. The interesting, of course, is the one which believes in the consciousness of creation, and there is some force at play in the universe which drives the evolution and unfolding of the universe, and we play a role in that place. In that we participate in that action. We are part of creation and we play a role in creation. So those are the three interesting parts. I think with all of them, though, that we all turn to the cogs of progress in society. And we all fit into the big rat race, and we all pedal the same bicycle, even though we might feel different about the creator or the meaningful life. But we all act as though the meaningful life is to feed the beast of progress and innovation. That's what it is. That is what survival is. Yet we look to the elders, we look to the ancients for wisdom, but we look for intelligence or cleverness or intellect or bright sparks to technology and innovation. Now, that is what has been driving our direction. Since the Industrial Revolution or before, the direction of humanity has been towards an innovation and technologically driven world. More gratification, more material benefit, and easier life on planet Earth. And we've drifted further and further from a spiritual lens, looking through and wondering, is there a bigger picture to this? And the meaningful life has escaped us. The meaningful life is now seen as feeding the machine, making as much money and acquiring as much material wealth as you can, and leading as easier life as we can. And then when people do achieve that, they have a vacuum. They don't know. They try and get more acquisition and more comfort and more quick thrills. And they still cannot scratch the itch, and they don't know why. And I think this is our fundamental part is the meaning of life. And it would depend, as I say, on whether there is a God, a creator or not. So the God that we're looking at, the God of most religions, is act in a certain way and you can get redemption and divine reward kind of thing. You can go to heaven or whatever, or reincarnation or something like that. So it's again an existence within the realm of what a human understanding. In other words, when a Christian dies, our soul goes to heaven, and all of us in our brains, we picture this little ghost of ourselves flying off, and off to the cloud we go, and there God's sitting on one of the clouds, a little bit higher now, because, space is quite big, and he's got people sitting around him, and all of this whole congregation sitting on the cloud. I don't know, what are they doing? I'm not quite sure what they do. And it gets difficult because they don't all speak the same language, and probably not all from the same planet. Because if there is intelligent life elsewhere in the universe, do they all come to the same heaven? Or do they have sort of heavens all over, different galaxy heaven, and maybe they do a sort of timeshare or holiday swap or something? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, but let's say we do that. We go. Those entities, being serious, would probably have no recollection of us on Earth, of their life before on Earth, even if they didn't disassemble and fall apart and fragment and become part of part of the universe. They wouldn't. When we come to Earth, we have no recollection of our previous existence as when we were still stardust, dust on the planet, all over the place, coming eventually to genes, our party, to boom, 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 hello, baby. We have no recollection of the time before that, yet we believe that the soul is eternal. How come? What makes us think we'd have recollection? We don't know anyone that's giving us recollection or feedback on the afterlife. We've had after-death experience or near-death experiences, and we had some people that say, no, they've had previous existences. But nothing really measurable or really, really credible besides from a part of faith. So it comes back to this feeling of what the meaning of life. And I think we've got to look, and it would be coming to say, what is God? But that is a much longer conversation. I'll have that conversation soon. But let's stick into the meaning of life. So we come down and we create on this planet. We are the pinnacle of creation on this planet. We've got consciousness, we've got reason, and we can make decisions, okay? Decisions based more than on simply survival or nourishment or mortality. We can make, do I like something? Don't I like something? Do I want something? Do I want to go somewhere? Don't I want to go? So we've got these powers. And we've got the powers to understand there's some kind of a rationality between right or wrong, or at least what's good for humanity and not good for humanity. I question whether there is right and wrong from an absolute term, but it's good for humanity or it's bad for humanity. And we can govern our actions to make it better for us or worse for us. And that's what we do every day. We make these decisions. But on a planet state, let's see what we are like as part of creation. And not a part of creation is a human-centric creation and theology, but a creation where the universe is created, not just man as the boss on a small little planet. Now, in this universe that we created, we've got conscience. Aren't we more or less like little nanobots in our bloodstream, right? That are running around, they find disease, boom, they fix it, and off we go, and the body continues. And in our planet, aren't we like nanobots? We can see when we screen the world up, and we can go around and we can fix it up if we want. And once we fix it, we can keep it under control. So we are custodians to make the planet. And how do we keep it? We keep it in a state that is conducive to the continuance of life, and predominantly human life. But obviously human life at the pinnacle of the food chain depends on all life, right down to plankton and bacteria. So the entire food chain has to be protected. And it's our role not to protect the food chain and protect the planet to make it conducive to our existence and the continued existence of the human species, which all of a sudden says, surely our focus as a species and the meaning of our life is to maintain the planet. It's not to milk it dry and suck it dry. But it doesn't make sense to be standing here like lemmings who we follow in technology and innovation, running off the cliff. And I agree, wonderful shit, serious. But we are looking at those as the only driver for existence and the meaning of, and the reflection of a meaningful life. When we are saying that the protection of the planet belongs to someone else. Someone else is going to jump in and fix it. It's not our baby, and we still eat up the products that are destroying the planet. We still follow the practices which are destroying humanity. We follow the almost middle-aged, dark age, inquisition kind of mind space which is making us question things that are obvious and not question things that are dangerous. And we're moving further and further away from our true function, which is the protection of our planet. I think that's where we have to go. We've got to go back and understand to protect humanity and the planet. And how do we do that? Well, Christ had the right message, didn't he? I mean, empathy and love are the solutions. That's the only way. If you don't love someone and you're jealous and all the other negative emotions, of course you're going to turn around and take it away. That's in our nature. So the nature, I don't believe, is a psychosis. I think it's a refocus of the objectives and the meaning for our existence. And when we come to grips again with the fact that we better nurture our home, look after it, look after each other, and work together collectively, how we limit our numbers and our impact on our planet, and then we can start moving forward. But as long as we plunderers, as long as we keep taking without wanting to give, as long as we have no consideration for each other or Mother Nature in general, we are heading on a very slippery slide downhill, and we need to change that. I think we need to refocus ourselves that our activities, our work, and our general direction of life again aligns with the needs and aspirations of all of nature and the planet in general.